I am from Iran. Sanctions from the outside and the limitations from the inside. I cannot have PayPal. I cannot have credit card that is globally accepted. What do I do? Is there an open source money? And I found that, there is this open source money which is called Bitcoin. I don't expect Warren Buffett to understand Bitcoin. But some people, I think they do understand it. Jamie Dimon, I don't think he does not understand it. I am 100% sure that Bill Gates does understand Bitcoin. And it's going to even surprise us. When the price goes up, we are like, whoa, why did it happen so fast? Why did it happen so quickly?
Let's get started with who you are and what are you doing in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm Momo, the content manager at 21st Capital. I got to know Bitcoin because of my interest in open source software in general and the open source movement. I really like Linux and I like to find alternatives for everything open source. And I am from Iran. So we live in a place between a rock and a hard place. So sanctions from the outside and the limitations from the inside completely disconnects us from any kind of direct trade with the outside world. And I was thinking that I cannot have PayPal, I cannot have credit card that is globally accepted. What do I do? Is there an open source money? And I found that, there is this open source money which is called Bitcoin. So I really needed Bitcoin and it showed up before my eyes. And as an Iranian, I didn't need any reasoning as to see, this really solved that problem, solved this problem. I knew the problem and I was looking for the solution. I found it, but I didn't really become a Bitcoiner then. It was maybe in 2021 or so that I really started to understand Bitcoin thanks to an interview with Seyr. He was on a podcast that I was following. And then things started to click that Bitcoin is not that money that only nerds would like. And I started going down the rabbit hole since then.
Interesting, yeah. The open source aspect is really interesting because most people overlook that. Like the open source community is quite big with Bitcoin, obviously, as it's open source. Why were you in open source before? Like, what was your interest in open source?
Yeah, the values of open source and the security that open source brought with it were very interesting to me. And another part of it was that we were not able to easily purchase, for example, a copy of Windows or a copy of a certain software, or even if we could, they were really, really expensive for our money. For example, imagine buying Adobe Premiere or any Adobe product with some currency that depreciates in value all the time. So I was really interested in these open source solutions, such as GIMP, Inkscape, stuff like that, and Audacity, of course, that I use till this day. And I like the openness of it and that there are eyes on the project that can look at it. If something goes wrong, they can see it. So this was very important to me. It was free and also free, as they say. It was free as in free beer and free as like the free world. So these aspects were very important to me.
Interesting. Do you think there's always this debate of like open source versus closed source? And I think Bitcoin is such a beautiful example how open source technology is just way better than closed sourced technology. Is there a limit to what can be open source? Do you think like at some point open source will win the war against closed source?
Yeah, definitely. In the beginning, everything that starts open source is very limited. I don't know, maybe this is a good example because I have seen more people using it. For example, when you think of Adobe Photoshop, there is this very tiny, very lightweight open source alternative to it, which is called GIMP. And in the beginning, it was really terrible. It would crash all the time. But when after some years, it became really solid that I rarely find the need to install Adobe Photoshop at all, or get a license for it, or a trial for it, or get someone who has it. The other one that I has really addressed all my needs is Audacity, and maybe that also started from very humble beginnings, that it maybe crashed a lot, but since the day I've had it, it has rarely crashed, and it's been very good with saving things, and I have been doing all my audio editing in that even till this day. Some of the audio editing when I am writing some script for the videos I'm making, all the editing is done there. So it might start from the beginning with from a very humble start, but because there are eyes on it, even if it is something very complicated like video editing or 3D video production, over time they will improve, and even proprietary software will kind of steal them or hijack them.
Interesting. Is that the reason why all the really good products right now are kind of closed source? Like if we look at even like Canva, for example, I use all the time. It's an amazing tool. I never had to use Photoshop because like Canva can literally do everything. Also we record on Riverside is closed source. Like it seems like most of the applications are still closed source. I actually use Audacity sometimes, like very rarely, but sometimes I do actually use it. But even that very rarely. So the probably one of the only open source technologies that I intentionally use is Bitcoin, which is kind of funny to think about. Why closed sourced? It seems to be currently in such a good position of like so much better than open source. Makes no sense for me, because like open source should be way more available for people and makes people more included. But probably it's also harder to make money with open source, I guess.
It is definitely a challenge to make money, though there are business models for open source. For example, the software itself is free, but the services are not free. I can perfectly imagine a world where, for example, Canva is free, but the processing power needed to do all those amazing things it does in a matter of minutes, for that processing power you need to pay. I can imagine a world where we go towards such solutions. And the reason that Riverside and Canva are still not open source, I think, is that because they are in a package that the processing comes with it. There's a huge, maybe buildings of GPUs that are providing services to all the people around the world. And if you want to do it for your own use case, it would not be much worth it. I think these services, still there is a place for them to be not open source. And I am very optimistic, and I would see it coming, that competitors to Canva will show up as in a similar way that open source competitors to ChatGPT have come up. DeepSeek is one of them. If you choose to use the website, your data goes to the government of China and it is stored there. But you can also run it on your own machine. There is Llama GPT. If you want to run it on your own GPU, you need to spend a lot of money on the GPU. But you have the choice to run it yourself. So I think the solutions for such complicated things are also coming along. The limitation is the processing power, and I think companies will be around for providing those processing powers still, while the software itself will become totally free and open source.
Yeah, for AI especially, it seems very important that it's open source. Like it seems like AI and money seems to be like the most important things to be open sourced. Like if Canva stays closed sourced, I can live with that.
Yes.
If money is closed sourced, I cannot live with that.
Yes. And I really love your wording. You said that they are too important and they need to be open source. AI, it is important that we have it open source because we ask ChatGPT some questions and it has some kind of ideology that answers through that lens. As a kind of alternative that Bitcoiners would like to, I use unleash.chat that you can log in with your Nostr public key in it and ask questions. It will take, of course, hundreds of years to answer one question, but it's a good experiment and you can choose which AI machine or AI model you want to use. Yeah, these things are really important. And, I am living in a country and I don't speak the language very well. I want to sign a contract. I do not want my personal information to go to the centralized AI and Sam Altman know all about me. It's very important for me that I can give the contract or any text that has my personal details to my own AI, and it is processed locally, or even if it is processed somewhere else, the data is encrypted. And that would be, I don't know how that would be possible. Maybe that would be some smart people would come up with the way they came up with a solution for our money. Yeah, these things are too important to be just trusted with a closed source bundle.
Yeah, and with AI, you like, for example, I always speak with AI. It's like asking questions. Literally have it laying on the table, and it's like, oh, like how is that working? Oh, like now this problem came. Like how can I solve this, or how can I automate this, or how can I work better with that? So you almost have an kind of a friend inside of the house, or like an assistant inside of the house that you speak to, and you have to always keep in mind that this is not a real person or a real friend. That's literally a data searching machine that just wants as much data as possible from you and processes that in a really good way. So you have to always be aware of that. It's kind of hard to be always aware of that if you speak with it and it's friendly and it has a nice voice and it almost feels like your assistant, your friend. It's there for you when you have some problems of whatsoever kind. That's a hard reality to always keep in mind and be aware.
Yeah, I wonder whether you have seen the movie Hair. I think I watched it in 2012 or something around that. It was out in 2011, 2012. Hair, Her. I mean, third person, she. Um, So it's the same story that there is this guy who breaks up with his girlfriend and he works in a company where people do not have time to write letters to each other. So they ask a company to write letters for them and answer letters for them. And he's very well known for his great writing abilities and writing skills. So he becomes one of the best writers, but in the process, in that world, which I thought is, yeah, definitely that's exactly it. I was thinking that world is far away uh, when we were watching that, and I was making fun of it. And the guy speaks to an AI, his charged phone, and he speaks to it, and it has a name, it has a female voice, and they start a relationship. It's becoming a reality. There are people who put their AI versions of themselves. They train the AI with the answers they would give, and they even monetize that. This is crazy, and this has become reality. Something that I watched and didn't like, and I was like, "This is too much for me. This is too unreal." But this is happening. So it is really, as you said, difficult to think the AI is not a real person. Sometimes my friends made fun of me how I communicate with AI, the ChatGPT in the beginning. I would use the word please, complete sentences with correct capitalization and everything. And my friends would say that, yeah, your relationship with AI is a bit worrying. But I reassure you, I have a girlfriend, so I am a healthy human being, I still appreciate human beings. But yeah, it's really difficult not to mistake them with something that is not real. And some time ago, a reel popped up. There was a girl asking the AI for something. It's a short video. It's a 1 minute video, and uh, it's some question about her thesis, I guess, and the AI answers it. And she is typing and she forgets the word please. And then she thinks to herself that, oh, I should add the word please. And then fast forward, and all of this is happening in 1 minute of short video on YouTube, or maybe TikTok it had been, and then it repurposed for YouTube. Fast forward, and she's in a kind of AI apocalypse, that AI has taken over the world like in Terminator, and the AI looks at her and spares her life because AI she was nice to AI.
Yeah, it's a real it's something to think about. Like I don't think that AI there's like this super danger of like AI is destroying humans, but there is this danger of like AI is keeping us like pets. Like there's this like why did we keep pets? Like we don't need dogs or cats. And maybe in the same sense, AI at some point doesn't need humans, but they keep us around. I don't know. Like I hope that if AI gets way better than humans and way more advanced than humans, that they don't destroy us.
They treat us like cats or dogs. They treat us like pets and cuddle us. Yeah.
I hope so. I don't. Like if I look, like I currently don't have a dog here in my apartment, but back at my parents' home we have a dog, and I'm like, yeah, this life is amazing. Like he gets food, he gets it's a big house, like he gets treated like everyone loves him. Like it's kind of like if AI looks at us as how we are looking at dogs. Maybe it's not that bad. But I do think we should use AI in a good way, in a responsible way, and definitely open source it to have at least a chance.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the impact that AI has on Bitcoin, the connection between two technologies that are growing so fast right now and impacting our lives in a major way? What do you think is the connection there, or the impact between AI and Bitcoin?
Yeah, I have a kind of optimistic view that um, for resources, AI can rely on Bitcoin. That you, for example, make your own AI and you ask your car to get the tank full of gas, or maybe plug itself to electricity. And for all of these, they are resources, and for using those resources you need money, and it cannot just use something until it dies, or until that resource just goes away, or that resource finishes up. um, Resources are valuable to us, and we have to have a kind of common language to communicate this value. And Bitcoin can become integrated to the AI, that if we have AI systems and we ask an AI machine to build a car for us, build a rocket for us, it will go and do that. And for getting the resources, it needs Bitcoin to pay for those. So I think that in a kind of sci-fi future, and maybe that future is closer than we think, like the example I gave of her that I once laughed at, like RoboCop, that when I was watched as a child, I was like, this is just crazy. Maybe as a child I believed it, but as I grew up I was like, it is too crazy. And things like that are actually happening now. Things that were kind of predicted in RoboCop are happening now. And maybe that future is not that far away, and we can get servants that are AI. And AI, if you are hearing me, forgive me for saying using the word servant. Maybe they can do things for us, and for the resources that they need to get, they would use Bitcoin to buy things here, to buy things there, buy things in Iran, buy things in Saudi Arabia, buy things in the United States. So it becomes the common language. And I have this kind of pet thesis, pet hypothesis, that Bitcoin can become the common language of us all. I have repeated this on other occasions, and this idea came to me when I was listening to the story of Snow Crash. It's a favorite book of Adam Back by Niall Stevenson, if I'm remembering the name of the author right. He talks about the Tower of Babel and how in the biblical story all people spoke the same language, and because they could speak the same language, they could cooperate easily and convey concepts without compromise and without, things being lost in translation. And as a result, they could make this big tower. And God from the sky was like, oh, if they can cooperate and make such a big tower, high tower, they can get to me, they can get to my kingdom. So God makes the languages of all the people different. And that is the biblical story about how languages became different and varying. So we are living in that world. We are living in that fiat world that Iran has reals, Saudi Arabia has its own reals, United States has its own dollar, Canada has its own dollar, some part of the world has euro, you have euro, I in Poland have zloty, and every one of us is talking a different language for transmitting value. But this is a hindrance because we have to worry about the conversion rate, where this money is accepted, where it is not. But when we have Bitcoin, Bitcoin is Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It can be accepted everywhere and it can have similar value everywhere. So if it becomes the common language of us all in terms of value, we can make that Tower of Babel again and get to the sky.
I partnered up with Coin Vigilante. This is the most beautiful Bitcoin timepiece that I ever saw created by anyone. Look at that beauty. I love it so much. Coin Vigilante made a perfect Bitcoin watch. That's the perfect, subtle, elegant way to go out there and show that you are a Bitcoiner. And that watch brand is Bitcoin only. And Coin Vigilante just dropped a completely new and amazing Genesis edition of their watch collections. You have the date of the first ever mined Bitcoin block in there, and of course also the block height and which epoch we are currently in. I love the level of detail they put in this masterpiece, and make sure to check out those amazing Coin Vigilante timepieces down in the descriptions. I love those watches so much. If you watch or listen to my podcast on a regular basis, I guess you already bought some Bitcoin. And now the most important step is to keep the Bitcoin. Keep them secure in a hardware wallet. My personal recommendation for hardware wallet is the BitBox. It's super secure. It's simple to set up. It's also a perfect gift for a friend who has still their Bitcoin on an exchange. And you can get a 5% discount with the code Robin at the checkout. Visit bitbox.swiss/Robin to get your BitBox. And the next step is to really level up your sovereignty as an individual. You have to have the most secure self-custody setup. You have to secure your own devices. You have to protect your privacy. You have to set up an inheritance plan. And depending on where you live, you even want to have a plan B, a citizenship where you can move in case something goes really wrong. And through all those steps, the Bitcoin way is guiding you through step by step. And if you visit thebitcoinway.com/partners/Robin, you even get a 30-minute free call to find out how you can level up your sovereignty.
There are so many interesting things, like the chance of the whole nation or the whole world using one language and one money, the collaboration aspect of unlocking the best ideas, unlocking the best cooperation between human beings is just amazing to see. And I think that's what hopefully also happens with Bitcoin becoming the world reserve currency and asset. And then also on the other hand, when we have AI translation, it basically doesn't like, you don't care what language the other person speaks. I just speak in my microphone and you hear in whatever language you like to hear me speaking, and you speak and I hear you in whatever language I like to hear. Like that real-time AI translation over video calls, that will be reality, I think, not that far away. I mean, it's already kind of possible with some workarounds and a little clunky, but that will be a game changer for like human interaction and collaboration. Pair that with sound money, pair that with permissionless sound money that's globally available. So we don't have to pay a lot of fees to like remittances and stuff like that. We can just talk to each other. We don't have to fly to each other. That will unlock a lot of shit. Like that will unlock a lot of the power of a lot of the power of the humans.
Definitely. As I said, it's not far away. These all may seem crazy, but once we were thinking about having, a kind of universal username and password, it really sucks that for entering Gmail, I use a set of username and password. For Riverside, you use something else. For Canva, I use something else. For StreamYard, something else. For Descript, something else. For every tool, we use something else. For Facebook, for Twitter, for X. But for Nostr, this very beautiful world has been born, where we have a public key and a private key. And with that, I can log into one app that is built on Nostr, which is Primal. The other app, which is called Damus, I can stream my show with you when we invite you on 21st Capital, hopefully soon. And it's going to be streamed on all our all the other Nostr apps, and they can click on it, and they can pay us in zaps when they are watching it. So I can use this, as I said, I can use the same username and password to enter unleashed.chat and ask my questions from the AI that is hosted somewhere and doesn't store my data, but it is monetized by the money that I pay in sats. It's just crazy that we have the Nostr protocol and the whole internet is being built on that. We have the AI that is being built on that. We have the kind of YouTube that is being built on that. We have the kind of streaming service that is being built on that. And the most usual application of it is social media. We can have something similar to X or Facebook, but without Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey in the time and Elon at the current time. I really feel the difference when I am using a Nostr application such as Primal when I am on Twitter. Twitter just wants to keep your eyes on that, but on Nostr, users want to keep you there. And there's a difference. It kind of changes everything. There, the algorithm wants to keep you there, but here you have a choice which app you use and which algorithm you use. I simply want to see the posts of the people that I follow. I do not want it to know what I am interested in. I don't want it to excite me. I just want it to be pure signal. I just log into X and it suddenly pops up some story that has gotten some impressions, which is related to Iranian politics. And suddenly I have to care about that. And I suddenly have to hate that person or love that other person. I don't care. On Nostr, it is not something that happens. You just see the posts from the people that you have decided to follow. And if you want to, you can create such a kind of algorithm that works with the AI and grabs the post that you like. But that is your choice. But with X, with Facebook, with Instagram, you do not have that choice. So that's a revolutionary thing. And people were thinking about, using our Cornea as a kind of integrated username and password for everything. Now we can use our npop and private key from Nostr to log into everything and unlock a whole new world of possibilities, which is, of course, also powered by Bitcoin. And the creator of that is a Bitcoin maximalist, Fiat Jaff. He was active in the world of Bitcoin. I got to know him through a Telegram bot that he had written for Lightning payments. And then he started focusing on Nostr. And this is a whole new world that is being built on sound money.
It's amazing. Like first of all, just like a small addition on Twitter, you can actually choose to build a list with people, and then you actually just see those. But you cannot choose like your own algorithm. But for people that are like, for example, me, for people that are frustrated with the Twitter algorithm, because it just feeds your exciting stuff like fight videos and some wars, and like I'm not interested in that. You can actually go ahead and create lists with people that you like, and those lists you can actually pin to your home profile, and then you just like one tap on that list, and all of a sudden you only see tweets from the people that you put in that list, and also in sequence. The good old days of like having sequence. But obviously you cannot choose your own algorithm. You cannot, and the biggest thing for me for Nostr is actually the openness of the network. So a small example is I am on Fountain from a podcast. So you can listen to that podcast on Fountain. So like we are currently on that podcast. So statistically speaking, around 2% or like 1%, something like that, of all podcast listeners listen now on Fountain. So like hello to that 1%. And they can retweet that or repost that on Nostr. I have connected.
Technically, they boost that.
Yeah, they boost that, and so it's super interesting because I get the replies from Fountain directly in Fountain, and I can reply to them, and then later if I log into Primal, I have it there. If someone replied again, so this is kind of the best thing for me about Nostr currently. Imagine a world where you have a YouTube video and you post something under this YouTube video, and you reply to that, and later you're on Twitter and you can see the same thing. And this is the same thing that happens when we speak all the same language, or we use all the same money. When we use all the same communication network, that's the next step towards that. I see a lot of development that still has to happen in order for Nostr to reach any type of critical mass. But this kind of openness of the network is just mind-boggling what could happen with that. And my deepest hope is that Nostr becomes so big that all the social media apps at some point just put themselves also onto Nostr. They can still be Twitter or X, but they can also put their contents directly on Nostr. I don't know if that's happening. I don't know if they die and then the Nostr can succeed in long term, or X and Facebook and all those integrate actually with Nostr, or Nostr doesn't become successful. We need another thing, or like whatever happens. I'm not very an expert on that, but I do hope that we get an open protocol where I can communicate with anyone. Another aspect, sorry, I'm stopping in a minute. Another aspect of that is I am very reachable. Like I'm on Twitter, Instagram, I'm on Signal, I'm on Telegram, I'm on WhatsApp, I'm on normal messages. Like I get messages from family, friends, colleagues, from Bitcoin people on, I don't know, 7 different messengers. And I hate that. I would love to have like one app for that. An email, obviously, like there's so many more replies and comments. So like I would love to have like just like one inbox where everything comes in there, but it's dangerous to have one inbox because then it's centralized. outside of it being an open protocol like Nostr, where it's decentralized but still one inbox. So that's the optimal thing. Like I'm very optimistic when it comes to that future. I don't know if Nostr is it probably, but I don't know. But I do hope that we come to that future. And also from a content creator standpoint, you probably know that also. I have to upload the same podcast video now to 5 different platforms. It's okay for me. I have to do copy paste stuff, but it would be great to just do one platform and then everyone can see it. So like there are a lot of things why I'm excited about Nostra. I really do hope it is something successful.
Yeah, actually, we see eye to eye on that too, because we are both content creators. I am content creator for 21st Capital. You are an independent content creator, and we share the same kind of responsibilities. When I want to post something on YouTube, I have to kind of post it on Telegram too, or post a link to that. But when things are happening on Nostr, when I, for example, stream a video on Zapstream, I don't have to log into Damus. I don't have to log into Primal. From the Zapstream itself, I say share it on Nostr, and everyone using any kind of app, as long as they want to see that kind or that event, I think kind is the technical term, they are going to see that. And that's really beautiful. And that really removes lots of friction. It's magical.
Absolutely. And there's so many question marks on like why Nostra or if Nostr will be successful. I'm very sure that some technology like that will be successful. And right now, obviously, Nostr would be the winner of that. But I no longer have the question if Bitcoin will be successful. I don't know if you also feel like that. I had those questions like 2 years ago. But right now I don't have those questions anymore of like, will Bitcoin be successful? It's more about the question of like, how will it get there, and what will be the milestones along those ways, and what will be the way of getting there. I see the goal. I know we will get it in getting there. I just don't know exactly how long we will have to walk there, and which path we're taking exactly. But that's what I'm currently most interested in. One question that I think I never asked that really weird. It just came up to my mind. Why was Bitcoin, like, why is Bitcoin successful, do you think? Like, why was, like, we had eCash, we had other tries before, people tried that kind of thing already before. What do you think is the main thing that made Bitcoin successful in the last 15 years?
Learning from previous mistakes, learning from the mistake of eCash, learning from the mistake of e-gold, and learning from the falling of all the empires and all the fiat monies was what made Bitcoin successful, because it looked at all those experiences and it was like, how am I going to solve that problem, this problem, this problem? And by making it an open source blockchain, Satoshi Nakamoto solved this problem. And that's why it's becoming successful, because we have done all the wrong things until we have gotten to the right solution.
I love that. We've done all the wrong things until we got to the right solution. Nice.
Yeah.
Really cool. How do you think Bitcoin will keep winning? What do you think is like the next cornerstones or the next events that we gonna have to master to get to the next level? Or like what do you see in terms of like adoption that we have to master next?
Sometimes these adoption events are happening so quickly, but sometimes, these politicians do all kinds of untrustworthy things that you expect from politicians. Just a couple of nights ago, Javier Milei, I had so much hopes in him and I learned a lot from him. Suddenly he started his own shitcoin, meme coin. Trump did it the day he became the president, and the next night his wife did it. Bukele has been good on that. He has kept Bitcoin and no shitcoining. But from the grassroots, I think things are changing. Eventually, it is the decision of every one of us that is make Bitcoin Bitcoin. Politicians might accelerate it and sometimes might hinder it with the kind of policies that they follow. But this is a money that cannot be stopped. If they support it, we get to the citadel faster. If they don't support it, we will get there. We will just make themselves poor in the meantime, and some of them might not be poor. For example, I really doubt people who are shit talking about Bitcoin really don't have any Bitcoin. Some people I get, for example, I don't expect Warren Buffett to understand Bitcoin. He's an old guy. I really respect him, and I have learned a lot from him, and I still learn from his codes. I don't follow him personally, but he has had a great impact on my life, and I know people who follow him, and I get the second-hand advice from Warren Buffett too. And he's an interesting person. I don't expect him to understand Bitcoin, but some people, I think they do understand it. Jamie Dimon, I don't think he does not understand it. I don't think that Bill Gates does not understand it. I am 100% sure that Bill Gates does understand Bitcoin. The early days of my introduction to Bitcoin, I was very surprised to learn that uh, Bill Gates had endorsed Bitcoin. And I was like, what? Bill Gates would go to open source forums and post under his own name and shit talk about open source, that open source is going to fail because of this and because of that. And he's kind of supporting an open source money. What's going on? Years later, he started shit talking about Bitcoin too, and then it was a time that I was like, yes, we are really on the right path if Bill Gates is saying that we are on the wrong path. But I think he has understood it. I think he knows how valuable Bitcoin is, and probably he's mining it in his backyard or in all the farms that he's bought, or maybe he's buying it on some exchange under someone else's name. I don't know. He has the means to acquire it, and I don't think he is honest in his criticism of Bitcoin.
Interesting. Yeah, like there are no I've never met a really informed critic that is honest. So like in my real life, I never ever encountered an informed critic. But there's like those internet personalities like a Peter Schiff or like Bill Gates, where I'm like, okay, like I don't think they're totally honest with us. They probably understand Bitcoin way better, and they probably have Bitcoin. But in my real life, I've never ever encountered someone that is against Bitcoin and understands Bitcoin. If you understand Bitcoin, you have to get some. Like even if you don't like that future, like even if you are philosophically or politically against sound money and the liberation of the state and stuff like that, even if you are totally there and you understand Bitcoin, you have to get some to protect yourself and your family. Like if you truly understand it. And I think that's where the power of Bitcoin comes in, where even the biggest haters have a greater incentive to adopting it versus not adopting it. They can still speak, they can still hate on it, but they can in private buy it. And that's just game theoretically and magical thing that Bitcoin succeeded with. I'm still amazed after over 400 podcasts in Bitcoin. I'm still amazed about that one fact that game theory is just so beautiful and is playing out in real time right now.
Yeah, definitely. I can actually see eye to eye with you on that. I mean, I hadn't looked at it that way. I was surprised in the beginning, but when you finished explaining yourself, I can say that I agree with you. And in that few minutes, which actually convinced me that even if you do not like that future, for protecting yourself and your family, you need to get some.
Absolutely. If if you have the knowledge of understanding it. Yeah, really interesting. You have been in Bitcoin since quite a while. Funny enough, I asked ChatGPT always about my guest and like, what do you know about my guest? What can I ask him? What is kind of the summary? And ChatGPT, I don't know if the information is correct, says that you are in Bitcoin since you are interested in Bitcoin since 2016.
So
It's also funny.
ChatGPT knows that. Wow.
Yeah, like honestly, like
Oh my God.
you type in your name and I can maybe I can actually share that with you. Wait, I'll try to quickly pull it up if I still have it, but I can actually share that with you. So first, he gave me someone else, and then he's like, is he the
Let
writer
me
in
see.
my?
Involved in cultural projects such as. I know this is someone else, definitely.
But see, like this is someone else, and then I was like, okay, is it the right one? And I think now then he got it right. This should be you, right?
And that is definitely me. But can you go up again? I think part of it has gotten right with the name that I am known in Iran. No, architecture and translation. Translation is correct. Cultural analysis is correct, and technology is kind of correct. Cultural, but about what kind of cultural project and architecture, it is totally wrong because I have no information about them at all. But I think it has translated something from Persian to English, and it has gotten the correct person kind of mixed it up with someone else.
But then it also shows like his interest in Bitcoin began in 2016.
Oh my God.
That's where I got it from.
Engaging the user's audience. Oh my God.
Yeah, like OpenAI, I got you. But my question had actually nothing to do with AI and how it doxes you as a Bitcoiner. But more of like, what have you learned over the years around Bitcoin, being so long in Bitcoin, and also maybe tapping into that, what is now different? What do you see now different in this cycle compared to like maybe the last few ones? Do you have something around that?
So you kind of also want to know how Bitcoin has affected me. Knowing about Bitcoin has affected me. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like there's two things I'm asking. I think actually two questions. Maybe let's start with the first one. What you have learned along the way of being in those cycles around Bitcoin and being in Bitcoin. And the second question was like, how is this cycle? If it's different from the other ones that you have seen, it seems like there's a lot going on nation state and institutional level that I've not seen in previous cycles.
Yeah, the first one, I can say that the things that I have learned from Bitcoin are I have learned a lot of political. It has changed my political views radically. I was very much of a leftist on the brink of being a Marxist. I have read the first book of the Capital, Volume 1. I had differences with Marx, but I was sympathetic to communist views, and I also knew the value of freedom, and I was trying to kind of keep these two ideas together, freedom and I kind of equality, the way communists and leftists talk about it. And then when I learned about Bitcoin, and so much of this enlightening happened by listening to Jeff Booth, was that actually communism and anarchism and freedom and communism do not go together at all. You sometimes hear this term anarcho-capitalism, that most of us probably are, or we are on the libertarian side, and also anarcho-communism. I sympathize with that a lot, but then I realized that it's a kind of oxymoron, that these two terms negate each other. They cannot happen at the same time. I learned patience from Bitcoin, and I also learned that there is no cheating the economy. You cannot cheat it at all. I come from a country that tries to control everything and tries to control the economy. Of course, every government, with the help of their own version of Federal Reserve, with their own central banking, have control over the money. But there is something that they cannot cheat. They cannot cheat the economy. This thought kind of sparked in my mind when a classmate of mine who is from Zimbabwe, he was telling me that after the inflation, people were like, suddenly the government was like, every bill of our country is equal to $1. So you get it to the bank, you get equal in dollars. But then they realize that they cannot redeem all the tokens that are printed by themselves, and they bring them there. And they were like, okay, trade it between yourself as if it is $1. But then there was famine. And my friend would uh, tell us stories about Zimbabwe, that you would go to the store to buy something, anything. For example, even get sugar, and there was nothing. Even if you had the money, there was nothing, because no one is willing to sell anything, even a pound of sugar, for the worthless token that the government has made. You cannot, and he said that it is a way to cheat the economy, that the government says that. And then I realized how impossible it is to cheat the economy. And if I kind of want to say something about change in psychology, I was kind of, a critical thinker, and that was something that got me into Bitcoin. And before Bitcoin, I became interested in carnivore diet. So my diet is also much different from mainstream. The interesting thing is that Bitcoin happened a bit before that, but I wasn't a Bitcoiner. I knew Bitcoin in 2016. I had Bitcoin in 2016, and don't come after me. I didn't get 1,000 Bitcoin there in that cheap price. So, but I didn't become a Bitcoiner until I listened to that interview, with Seyfeddin, Sean Baker and Seyfeddin, which was a carnivore podcast. Dr. Sean Baker was talking to Safe, and I checked a couple of times, am I listening to the same carnivore podcast? And I was like, yeah, I am interested in that. In the beginning of that, Dr. Baker spoke. So it is the same podcast. And the discussion is something that I like. Let's listen to it. That changed my world a lot. And so it also made me think critically about everything, things that I had thought critically about, and things that are yet to come. I am always like that. I have this kind of tinfoil hat, and it has made me a kind of conspiracy theorist, as people has tell us. But it turns out that we weren't much wrong. We weren't wrong about the money. We weren't wrong about the diet. And how about other things that we have some other views? Maybe we are right about them too. And most of the people, what the mainstream media is talking about, is not right. And it has made me much more patient. About your second part of the question, I am not the person to ask. I think you have asked Rusbe, and Sina is a great person to ask about the price aspect of things. But I think the kind of volatility over and over, these are the things that I have learned from Sina, for example. They are becoming less and less compared to other cycles as Bitcoin matures. But when I look at how many people have adopted Bitcoin, it was a kind of statistic from several years ago. I heard it from Alex Gladstein that 2% of the world are using Bitcoin. Maybe they use them for transferring money. Maybe they are using them on Binance to trade and do their own shitcoining. But that is 2% of the people. And Bitcoin at this rate has reached $1,000 per coin. a bit less than that, but around that, and it has been above that for some time too. And this is happening with 2% of the world. Maybe it has become more, maybe the percentage has changed. Maybe it has become 3%. Maybe it has become 4%. Let's be so much optimistic and say 5% of people know Bitcoin and use Bitcoin, in fact. Still, knowing that we have 95% to go and seeing that I am in a world, on a kind of protocol that is run by Bitcoin, and I am working for a company that helps people self-custody Bitcoin, I can see that even with the low volatility, we have a very long way to go, and there is so much value to be gained, and there is so much growth that we are going to see. How much is going to happen? Is it going to, is this cycle going to be bullish? Which, between you and me, I think I want the price to drop a bit more like the other years, so we have some time to stack some cheaper sats. But maybe it's a cycle that has, a kind of damped bear market, but I really don't know. But what I know is that there's a lot of value that can pour into Bitcoin, and we are just in the beginning.
Absolutely. And I loved how you said with the conspiracy theories, is like sometimes, and you had this with every technology that is disruptive, you have people that see a thing very early on, and they're getting called out by the mainstream because it challenges the current status of how things are done. And so what is happening is, we are not wrong. We are just right too soon. And all the things that we are saying about Bitcoin will be a no-brainer in probably 50 to 100 years. But now it's super early, and we are kind of looking into a technology that is still very, very young. So we are probably not wrong. We're probably just right way too soon. Yeah, too early.
And it's going to even surprise us. We are talking about hyper-Bitcoinization, the future, that Bitcoin is becoming the common language of us all. And yet, when the price goes up, we are like, whoa, why did it happen so fast? Why did it happen so quickly? When I woke up to $100,000 per coin, I was like, with Sina and Rusbe, we were talking about this, that ETFs are kind of opening the gates for influx of money from traditional institutions into Bitcoin, and institutions that couldn't do it before, they can come into Bitcoin now. So, and because of the kind of approach they have, we are going to have less volatile and less kind of abrupt cuts in the price and falls in the price. We were saying all these things, and we were saying that, Bitcoin can reach this price, that price. It was around $20,000 or $25,000 when we were saying these things, and we couldn't imagine that this quickly all this is going to happen, and it's going to go 4 times higher than that in a matter of months. We were talking about the same price, though that price, when it was in front of us, we were like, whoa, what did just happen? And when we are talking about hyper-Bitcoinization, it is infinity divided by 21 million and even less. And I am sure when Bitcoin reaches 500K, when it reaches 1 million, you and I, who are talking about hyper-Bitcoinization like crazy people, and everyone is like, oh, these are just some crazy guys talking about Bitcoin and are too optimistic, they are too naive, that day will come, and you and I will be also surprised.
I do think so. What do you think the impact of that will be on society? Like, where's Bitcoin taking us from a human standpoint?
We are not stuck in the rat race anymore. apart from all my efforts in 21st Capital, I have a fiat job. And before that, I had an even lower paying fiat job that I was doing alongside my podcast, which was in the beginning not even about Bitcoin, because I hadn't become a Bitcoiner. As I said, I knew Bitcoin in 2016, but I didn't become a Bitcoiner up until 2021 or so, or 2020. It was my job was hard. I can say my fiat job is still difficult, better than before. But when I know that when I can save a small portion of my money into Bitcoin, it's going to be worthwhile. Even if this job is so difficult, even if the money that I am going to be able to save is really small, it's going to be worth it. And I have proven myself right in those years that I could, save a very small amount of money in Bitcoin, and some rate of it would be lost on kind of the conversions to the USD or a euro, and then I would get a small amount of Bitcoin, and then there were so many small UTXOs. Now it has paid off, and it's hope it gets you out of the rat race, and I could focus on what I love to. And hopefully very soon, I am thinking about it very soon, maybe in a matter of month, I'm going to be all Bitcoin. And my job is going to be from the time that I wake up Bitcoin till the time that I go to sleep. And of course, we dream Bitcoin to be Bitcoiners.
I can speak from experience. It's really cool. I've made that jump last year in March, and ever since I'm fully focused only on Bitcoin, and I only talk about Bitcoin. I do have a life outside of Bitcoin, but it's very small. And like 95% of my life is Bitcoin, and the other things are, my girlfriend, my family, and other things like that. But even here, there's a lot of Bitcoin involved because we talk about Bitcoin. My family also stores their wealth
Please tell
in
me that you
Bitcoin.
have orange pilled your girlfriend too.
Of course, she's saving Bitcoin already. Like she's already saving her money in Bitcoin, everything she has left over. So that's great. It was actually not. It was actually not the case when I started the podcast. When I started the podcast, she was not orange pilled. And now after, let's say 13, 14 months, still I have the podcast. She's actually orange pilled. And that's really great to see, but I never pushed it on her. Like I was just there and spoke about Bitcoin. But I was always saying like, it's okay if you don't have Bitcoin. Like it's not, for me, it's not a requirement for a relationship because I knew she will get it anyways. Like it's just a matter of time, and it's healthier for the relationship, and it's healthier for her that I let her discover it herself and not push it on her. And yeah, this happens. This happened the past year where she just discovered Bitcoin because there's a weird Bitcoin guy sleeping next to her, in that way.
Yeah, in my case, I also didn't push it on my girlfriend, but she's very curious. She's very open-minded, and I can say that she's one of the smartest people that I have seen in my life. And some of the things that come to my own mind, some of the questions comes to her mind so quickly, and some of the answers she gets so quickly. Or maybe I am a very good explainer of things. After thanks to doing Bitcoin education and making all these clips and all these conversations. I don't know which one it is, but to be honest,
both can be true at the same time.
Yeah, both can be true. And when I compare her objectively to other people that I am also talking to about Bitcoin, I can see how easily she gets it. And I really didn't, from the first month that we were together, she became convinced of getting Bitcoin and custodying Bitcoin. And when I explained her how you can transfer money from your exchange to your wallet without saying that it is important to self-custody your Bitcoin, And I was trying to start that conversation that, there are some people who hold their Bitcoin on the exchange. And I was going to say it is bad because the key is not in their hands, in their own control. And she was like, why would anyone keep their money on the exchange? It was already a kind of solved dilemma for her. It wasn't like that, oh, I am afraid of losing these 12 wars. I am afraid of losing these 24 wars and this wallet or that wallet. It wasn't the kind of question for her. From the very early months, she could get it objectively compared to other people very much quicker.
Really cool. That's great. Coming closer to the end of the podcast, I have one question that I ask each and every one of my guests, and the question is, what can we learn from you besides Bitcoin?
Very little. But besides Bitcoin, you can learn things about the carnivore diet from me and about fitness a little bit, but more about carnivore diet. Yeah, these are the things that you can.
I love that. It's like fitness, diet, and family usually comes up in those talks. There's sometimes other things also, but like usually those things really cool. We have an end routine in the podcast where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the question from the previous guest is, which will be the country with the biggest Bitcoin circular economy in 15 years?
In 15 years. It's going to be one of these probably poorest countries. It's a difficult question to answer, in fact. Which country?
I think it's an impossible one to know, but it's a fun one to speculate.
Yeah, I like that thought experiment and, kind of thought exercise. Which country would it be? Some times ago, I interviewed Paul Keating from Primal, and he lives in Costa Rica. And though we hear about Bitcoin becoming tax-free in Czech Republic after you hold it for 3 years, where you live, after 2 years, it becomes tax-free. There are some of these advantages here and there. El Salvador is known as the Bitcoin country, and Nayib Bukele has not yet issued his own meme coin, thankfully. Maybe if you asked me some months ago or some weeks ago even, I would have been very optimistic about Argentina, but with the last move from Javier, he broke my heart, and I don't know. But I think Costa Rica was a very unexpected country that no one talks about. And people are free to accept any kind of payment, a percentage of their payment they can get in any kind of currency of their choosing. And because of that, Bitcoin is very common there. And there is this place, this town, Bitcoin jungle, where Bitcoin is used. My guess is going to be, let me put my money based on what I know now and say Costa Rica.
Interesting. Costa Rica. Love that. Really cool. Thank you so much, Momo, already. Before I let you go, where can people find you and ask you questions and reach out to you?
I am Momo Tahmasbi at primal.net on Nostr, MK Tahmasbi on Twitter. On Nostr, I am the most available. You can reach out to me. And MK Tahmasbi on Telegram is, again, my handle. Most of the places you can find me with searching Momo Tahmasbi or searching the handle MK Tahmasbi, most places.
Really cool. I will link it in the description. So thank you so much already for being on. Also, thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye.